Welcome again to today's discussion on Soulful Fitness, a series of very interesting talks on wellness, health, fitness as part of an initiative by Uhane Fitness. I am Chikky Sirish, and I am absolutely happy and overjoyed to be here today with all of you. If I may say something, I've known this brand ever since their inception or conception. I know Rekha, one of the co-founders, and this brand truly talks its talk, because what Uhane means is soul. And that's exactly what they deliver. They deliver fitness wear for women in particular, clothes with soul. And why do I say that? Because a woman is a soulful creature and a free-flowing form and a free-flowing spirit, and that's exactly what those clothes do. They're very flowing, they fit our form and our spirit. So I'm happy to be here today. So I have always thought of fitness as something that was integral to us, because if you look at the word fitness, what does it actually mean? It means that you are capable of carrying out certain, activities or performing certain activities. And most people are in some level of fitness or the other, at different times of our lives. We're at different levels of fitness. It's very few people who start at rock bottom, especially I think it is more relevant for people who are chronically ill. So all of us are blessed. Let's remember one thing. We have all started, or we are all starting our journey at some decent level of fitness, is what I'd like to say. And my personal relationship with fitness goes back from the time I was a teenager, actually. Mainly because I was very concerned with my body shape and my body image, just like a lot of young people today are. And this is what led me into this whole, this whole arena of fitness. And I was happy and actually very pleased with myself for discovering something that I was able to carry with me from the time I was a teenager till now. And what is that? That's dancing. So to me, dancing is an embodiment of fitness. It is a gateway to my soul, a gateway to my spirit, if I can say that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So before we begin, what I'd like to share with you is that in today's world, we're living in a time which, yes, of course, there is this whole COVID thing going on around us. But apart from that, we are constantly bombarded with messages. Messages from the media, messages from social media, messages from the community at large. There's no escaping it. So we're also always being fed certain information that may or may not be completely and truly in resonance with who we authentically are, right? And for many of us, it takes a great deal of searching, seeking, experimenting till we find it for ourselves, right? And this is exactly how I found it for myself when I was younger, and I rediscovered it a few years ago, actually. So for many years, I left dancing and I hit the gym and I was doing all of these crazy things. I enjoyed it, I loved it. But then it didn't feel like there was intention in what I was doing. Because, each of us, we're creatures made for movement. So we have three homes, essentially. One is our body, the other is our mind, and the third is the planet. So we need to take care of these homes, especially the body. And the body and the mind are so connected to each other that we sometimes don't realize that, and especially in today's world, it's so separated, because the people are concentrating either completely on their body or completely on their mind, and there has to be a marrying of the two. Yoga, for instance, knew this, and it has been teaching this in its true essence, because yoga is movement with intention. And that's something that we need to bring to every aspect of our movement. Even if we go for a walk, just a 15-minute walk, if we do it with some intent, with positive intent, and tell our bodies, this is to nourish you, this is to make you feel more empowered, this is to make you move better, this is to make you perform the best way that you possibly can, your body is going to perform, move, and actually do much better than you even imagined. And it's going to hold on to it. So it's not just your body, but every cell in your body and your mind that's holding on to that message that you have put in with intention, rather than that message coming from, the social media and advertisements and God knows what else is out there, right? Because somehow we have such unachievable benchmarks thrown at us constantly. And I don't say unachievable in the sense that it's impossible. It is possible. But when I say unachievable, what I mean is that it takes a lot if you want to go down that path. And there might be some of you who really want to go down that path. So go for it. And you can build those muscles and have 11% body fat or whatever it is that is required. But if we look at it more realistically, if we look at it more authentically, then we need to nourish ourselves, right? We need to nourish ourselves with movement, nourish ourselves with positive vibes and energy, nourish ourselves with positive information and knowledge. I mean, all of this is what is going to create a holistic you, a holistic me, a holistic us. So I have a few slides that I'd like to share. So as I said earlier, my journey started when I was younger with dance, and I had kind of relegated it into the background for very, very many years. Hang on a moment. Let me just try and, there we go. Okay, so there we go. Right, so that is actually me. That's me dancing, and that's me stepping out of my comfort zone and stepping out of everybody's comfort zone, actually. I started pole dancing a few years ago. I think it was about 5 years ago, simply because I wanted to prove it to myself, because I wanted to break certain conventions in my own head. I also wanted to break down certain fears that I had about, doing those contortions and things with your body stuck to a tiny little pole. It was kind of scary. It was very scary. So even now it still is. But I felt the need to kind of break these barriers for myself. It was a mind over body kind of a thing. And I loved it, right? I also started Latin ballroom dancing simply because it is just so full of soul, which is what we're talking about. So full of spirit, so full of soul, and yet it needs your entire concentration. It is like coordination that you've never had to perform before. And it inspires me, it challenged me, and it kept me coming back for more. And this is something that all of us need to do with our fitness routines. We need to feel a certain kind of passion for it so that it doesn't become a chore. It's not something that we have to do because we have to do it, but because we love to do it. It's something that feeds you, that nourishes you, right? Not just on a physical level, because again, we don't want to conform to any particular body type or body image that is upheld by society at large, and which keeps changing it every now and then. Sometimes it's the skinny wave. Sometimes it's the extremely curvaceous Kim Kardashian-like body that, that the whole of humanity is aspiring for. And these keep changing. However, each of us, have an authentic individual blueprint. And this is what we should be going after, that individual blueprint, that which makes you you, particularly and uniquely you. And each of us has it in us. And also that which not just is about your body, but about your mind, yeah, and your body, because it is a marriage of the two. You know, you can't just have a body that works on its own, and you can't just have a mind. You can have a mind that works even without a body, but then when the two work together, it's harmony, it's symphony, right? So as I mentioned earlier, fitness and wellness shouldn't be considered as two separate entities, but rather as a marriage of the two, yeah, a combination of the two. There is a great need, yeah, for us to move with absolute intention, and therefore we will get those results that we are seeking. So many times we go out there with a certain goal, yeah, and especially in fitness, like if you go to the gym and you tell yourself, I need to lose 10 kilos, and which I've done in the past. Yes, I've gone completely on this single track road, and I told myself I'm going to go and lose, well, not 10 but 5 kilos, and I have. But it's a very result oriented thing. So the minute you get to your goal, you feel great, and then, you know, you just lose steam, and you have to start all over again. So rather than that, and I've done this over and over again many times, I discovered that there has to be something better for me personally. So this is completely a very personal journey that I'm sharing with you at the moment. And that's what led me to different types of fitness that I would have fun with, that I felt good about, that made me feel more like me and more of me. And this is what possibly led me to all of these dance forms, and I'm still experimenting and looking around and seeking, and I hope I never stop, because that's also something very important. Yeah. So as some of you may or may not know, I am also an empowerment and energy coach. So that's what I do. And dancing is what I love to do. I love to do both, but dancing is a passion, let's put it that way. And it's very interesting because dancing is something that goes with everything that I do as an empowerment and energy coach, because it is energy. Movement is energy. And when we add the element of music to whatever it is that we're doing, we're adding that added energy of sound to movement. And the whole thing is able to elevate you as an individual to another level of energy within yourself, right? And this is something that wellness is all about. It's about physical health, mental health, and emotional health. So mental health is something that we tend to not talk about all that much, right? I mean, of course, physical health is being spoken about all the time in different forms, shapes. You know, everywhere you go, you see some aspect of it or the other. But our mental health is as important, if not even more important, than our physical health, because it all starts from here. Now, many a time we don't realize it, but you know, when we're in a bad mood, all it needs is for us to shake that out of us, literally, right? Like you just literally need to get yourself up and move out of that situation, and you automatically feel a little differently. You feel a little better. And movement is movement. When I say movement, I mean it could be any form of movement, whatever resonates with you as an individual. But just to make things easy, I'm going to refer to it as movement. So movement is something that can instantly shift us. It can move blocked energy within us and just kind of make things suddenly seem energetically different. And this is very true because it's not something that we do just, you know, nowadays, but it's something that has been going on for centuries, millennia, whatever, because human beings used music, sound, movement from the very beginnings to do exactly this, to get themselves in an elevated state of mind, to make themselves, sometimes even to heal themselves actually, both from body and from mental ailments. And somehow it has been lost in translation over the years, and with modern living we somehow feel that it's all about the body and not so much about the mind. um, but it is both equally important, and they're both so interlinked, and we need to kind of remind ourselves that. So that's exactly what we're doing today. We're just reminding ourselves about that. I just quickly want to look at the time. Sorry, yes. Okay. So when I said we need to remind ourselves about this interlink between mind and body, there is this researcher, Dr. Ellen Langer, who's, she's very famous for some experiments that she conducted about the, relationship of mind and body. So one of her experiments involved 84 housekeeping staff who were all women. And she divided this group into, she divided this large group of 84 into two groups. So one was a control group and the other was the actual group where she, tested her theory. So her theory was that when you put awareness into movement, you actually get results, right? Very simple. And that's what we've been talking about. And she has actually done an experiment on it. So what they did is they took these ladies aside from the test group and they educated them. They gave them awareness and told them, do you know how much of work you put in every day? Do you know how many calories you burn? Do you know the kind of movements that you do are the kind of movements that people in the gym, even people in the gym, may not be doing? So you are actually doing things to your muscles, your joints, your body that empowers you. So with the kind of movements that you're making, you can burn, so XYZ number of calories. And they allowed these ladies to go back and do what they were doing. And nothing else was done differently. Now, at the end of a month, when these ladies came in, the test group, when they came in and they did their, a whole round of tests, they realized that these ladies, this group has actually lost weight. They lost at least 1 kilo of weight. Their waist-hip ratio had gone down. And they were just generally feeling so much better. In fact, there were even a few of them whose cholesterol levels and their BP, all of that had kind of gone back into very normal levels rather than how it was before. And let's not forget, all of these women, I failed to mention this, all of these women were in a rather unhealthy state because they were overweight, and they also had this belief that they didn't have time to go exercise and things like that. Now the control group, nothing was said to them, and they just continued doing what they were doing for the 1 month. And the funny thing is that the control group actually had gained weight, and it was very interesting to kind of see how something so simple, just awareness, can create amazing results. So they were doing the same thing that they were doing, but just with awareness, their body and mind decided to work in a cohesive harmony. And that's what Dr. Langer was all about proving. So wherever you put the mind, the body will follow. She also had conducted another interesting research experiment in 1981 with a group of older men in their 70s and 80s. What she did was she had divided them into two groups, and she had transported these two groups at two different times to a location that's really far away from the city that they stayed in. And she had transformed a monastery into this replica of a place a place and a time, actually. So she kind of transported them back 22 years, yeah? So in this monastery, she had set up black and white TVs, thrown around magazines from that time, and even those particular days. She had a radio, an old radio installed over there. There was music playing all the time from that era. So everything was about that time era, that time period. And they ate food from that time. They spoke, about events that were happening at that time as though it was happening, just at that moment. They actually just lived in that time for that 1 week. So the first group actually participated and fully immersed themselves into that time zone, time era, and they were made to go and play games and talk only about that time and just completely be involved in that time. They were there for a week, and then a short while later, the second group came, and they were also there for about a week. And this time, the second group, they were the control group. So they were just asked to reminisce about that time. Yeah, about 22 years ago. So it was in the 1950s. And it was interesting. Yeah, so they were still surrounded by all this paraphernalia from the 1950s, but they just were asked to reminisce and not to actually live it. So what Dr. Langer found was that both groups significantly showed results that were incredible. They had broader shoulders. Their gait was different. Their height improved. Because sometimes with age, people start to stoop a little and things like that. So all of that changed. Their everything, muscles, joints, all of that were performing differently. And the most incredible thing was that the first group, the ones who actually pretended that they were younger, now their body actually showed up as a younger person, which means that their blood count was different, their BP was different, their liver function was different, everything was different. Even a few of the men in the group had arthritis, so their fingers were measured initially, and it was shorter, relevantly shorter. But by the end of that week of staying there, they had increased their length of their fingers, which means the arthritis had actually kind of disappeared, which is amazing. Again, wherever you put the mind, the body will follow. This was her mantra. And I completely agree with that, because our mind leads the way for our body to follow. But sometimes we go about it the wrong way. We put our body out there and say, come on, go do stuff and make some stuff happen for me. But it doesn't work that way. We have to first live it in our head, right? We have to want it. We have to see ourselves doing certain things, and we actually will do those things. Now, here are a few things which I'm sure all of you know, that why exercise is good for you, but perhaps there are one or two things that you can take away from here. First of all, it promotes neural growth. That's something that, thanks to modern day science, we're able to actually go in there and see what's going on with MRI and, all of those, with all of those modern technical advancements that we have. So we know that you're making new connections in the brain every time you're doing something new, right? And exercise is a great way to be doing that. So, nowadays they have these things of age-related mental illnesses like dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that. So a way of actually retarding those things is by exercising, right? Of course, exercise is known to make us feel better. How? Because it releases natural chemicals, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, things that make us feel happy, things that make us feel energized, right? Another thing is that we know that we're constantly thinking, the average human being has 60,000 to 200,000 thoughts a day. So a simple way to stop ourselves from this constant cycle of thought is by just, short-circuiting it, movement, put some exercise in there, and automatically you distract your mind from that cycle of thought. And this cycle of thought is also something that feeds depression, especially when the thoughts are more on the negative side than on the positive side. Yeah. Of course, it relieves anxiety and stress, and regular exercise is known to have a great profound effect on depression. Yeah. And not just having an effect on depression, but also on making sure that you don't have a relapse of depression, which is an amazing thing. And what does regular exercise mean? It actually is just 15 minutes of running or walking every day, which is really nothing. If you think about it in the grander scheme of things, 15 minutes a day is practically nothing for us. Yeah. And of course, it's going to give us a better quality of sleep, and it increases our memory levels, which is something that all of us today, I'm sure you'll agree with me, have a problem with, because there was a time when we all needed to remember things like phone numbers and things like that, and therefore making more neural connections in our brain. But today we have an extension of ourselves that does it, which is our mobile phone, and therefore we have created less need for us to be exercising that really vital organ in here. But of course, exercise helps to exercise the brain as well, not just the body. So I see that we're running out of time, so I'm going to quickly go over this. When you exercise, just make sure you have an intention. Yeah, listen to what your body is saying, because your body is always talking to you. Even in terms of having energy stuck, you know exactly where you're feeling a certain tightness or a kind of uneasy feeling, right? And I don't mean the kind of feeling that you get from exercising where your muscles are sore. I don't mean that. You have some tightness maybe in your chest or stomach, and you're not really feeling right up here. So you need to go out there, exercise, get some movement, listen to your body, right? Pay attention to your breath, because breath is everything. Breath is life. Without breath, there is no life. Make sure that you breathe correctly while you exercise. It's very important. And even without exercise, if you just have some time kept aside every day for deep breathing, it does wonders to you, because your brain requires oxygen. 80% of the oxygen that you use probably goes up there, because it needs all that energy to perform. So rather than breathing the way that we breathe, right now all of us are doing shallow breathing. So we need to do some deep breathing for at least a little while in a day, if you can, every day, right? Be close to nature. When you do that, when you do have time to go out for a walk, soak in what's outside, the trees, the leaves, the grass, the birds flying, all of these things, they actually do something to your mind and to your body. Again, walking is so important. Listen to music, dance like nobody's watching. It's so important, really. Make sure you laugh a lot, because that, of course, also shifts your mind, right? Shifts your energy. So something on comedy or whatever, or look at some funny YouTube videos and get yourself in a laugh. And if you can, and you are blessed and you have friends, go out there, talk on a Zoom call, get yourself to laugh a little. Most importantly, live in gratitude and forgiveness, because these two things really, really make your energy shift, both mind, body, everything. And lastly, follow your passion, right? Now, I have to mention Tao Porchon, because this lady started learning yoga at a very ripe young age of 60. She started seriously taking up yoga from the age of 60. She lived till 101. She passed on this year, and Guinness World Records recognizes her as the world's oldest yoga teacher. Now, she is, like living testament that if she can do it, all of us can. And I just want to end by saying that you are a miracle in action, and remember that.